final vote was happening Sunday night on the ObamaCare, I was on the phone with a group of my fellow attorneys general planning our lawsuit. Actually, we've been planning it for months. And so 7 minutes after President Obama signed that bill into law, we filed a lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of the bill. And in particular, we're concerned about, number one, the individual mandate. For this reason, we don't believe that the Constitution anywhere authorizes the federal government to do something that is unheard of in this country, and that is to force every single American, as a condition of your citizenship, to buy a product or service, to buy insurance. Never been done before. People try and compare auto insurance and so forth. Not even close.
That's on the state level, right?
It's a state level. See, that's the 10th Amendment. That's the point. If the federal government can't do it, it's not allowed it's not provided in the Constitution, and it's left to the states if they want to do that.
And this doesn't affect interstate commerce because it's each individual state, right?
Absolutely. And there's been some, all the talk shows and all the liberal media have been saying, "Oh, these attorneys general don't have a chance." Well, I think we do. We are a bunch of constitutional experts, and here's where I understand that whenever you sue the federal government in federal court and ask a federal court to limit federal power, you're fighting an uphill battle. There's no doubt about it. Federal courts have expanded the power of Congress way beyond the original intent of the Constitution.
Well, and just like the backhanded deals that they did in filing the legislation, that they'll do the same in the court
Absolutely,
process.
Yeah. And so they're going to argue the Commerce Clause that gives them the authority, interstate commerce. And of course we're going to argue no, it doesn't, and here's why. And we've had a couple of recent decisions in the last decade. One involving guns and one involving violence against women. In both cases, the Supreme Court said that the Commerce Clause isn't completely without limits. There are limits to it, to the power of Congress.
This is case law from the Supreme Court.
Absolutely. The Supreme Court has said, they've started to limit it finally. After 100 years of expanding it, they finally said, wait, there are limits. And here's the test. It has to be interstate commerce or commerce at its core. And number two, it has to be something that's not been traditionally left to the states. Well, insurance of all types, whether it's health, car, auto, home insurance, that's been left to the states. So now they're doing something that traditionally has been left to the states. Meets that first test. Second was, is it commerce at its core? Is your decision on whether to have a medical procedure done, what type of procedure, who you're going to use, and how you're going to pay for it, that is an individual decision. How in the heck is that interstate commerce? We don't believe it is.
Isn't this healthcare comparable to socialism?
Well, anytime that your government mandates that you, as an American, must do something, it certainly takes away your liberty.
Service at the point of a gun. I mean, they hired all these IRS tax agents.
That's right. You're going to pay a penalty if you don't do it.
Right.
That's just outrageous.
So at what point did we go from being a democratic republic to the current state that we're in? Is it just with ObamaCare, or has it been a series of legislation over the entire history of the US?
Well, it's been history. It's been slowly, the federal government has ticked away at what it was the original intent of the Constitution. And that was to have very limited federal government power, protect our borders, and some interstate commerce. If it truly was commerce between the states, very limited powers, which means everything else was left to the states or the individuals. And they've completely turned that pyramid upside down, where it's in every part of our lives. And the problem is that it's been done because of people who believe that government is there to take care of you from cradle to grave. And sadly, even when we had a Republican administration, Republican majorities, they didn't stand up to that concept. They continued to grow federal government.
Left-right paradigm where the left scratches the right, right scratches the left behind closed doors.
Yeah, this problem didn't start with the Obama administration or with Democrats in power. I mean, they've exacerbated. I mean, to have the arrogance to say, well, we have the numbers and we don't care. I mean, they're coming after me saying, oh, why are you suing when this is such an important thing we're providing people? Well, I don't, great. If we could provide everything for everybody, then we would be socialists, wouldn't we?
Right.
That's how our government's supposed to work. You have someone say, hey, I have a great idea. Here's how government can help people. Well, okay, you have to have two tests. One, does it take away or does it help add to individual liberty? And two, how are you going to pay for it? It could be the most wonderful program in the world. But are we going to put us in debt for generations to come to pay for something? No. So, and that's what we don't have the ability to stop. And that's why we have ObamaCare, and it costs, of course, in the trillions. And so, with the state of Utah, individual mandate, unconstitutional. The second part is the requirement that we expand in Utah the coverage of our Medicaid, Medicaid expansion is incredible. It is going to cost this state over $100 million because the federal government has decided that to be eligible for Medicaid in the state of Utah, if you're 133% below the poverty level, which is going to open up so many people in Utah.
I honestly think I would fall in there.
Well, again, it's a great thing. Let's take care of people, but how are you going to pay for it?
Exactly.
This past year with the deficit, we had a $19 million deficit in our Medicaid. And I know the federal government pays a lot of that, but the state has to match to a certain degree. And we just don't have that money. So how can the federal government tell the state of Utah what to do and make us pay for it, make you, the taxpayers, pay for it? That's, we believe, violates states' rights.
Well, and I'm not an attorney by any means, in any way, shape, or form, but I just, out of common sense, believe that this Obamacare is unconstitutional. I mean, forcing me to buy something is just wrong. But the other concern of mine with the Obamacare is the other slip-ins that they did. I mean, they're going to do some stuff for education with the Pell Grants and student loans and stuff. But I heard somewhere, and you can't hold me to this, but there was stuff requiring mandatory vaccines in it as well.
I haven't read that part yet, so I'm not sure about that.
And when you get a chance, I'd love to hear your.
We're going to continue to look at things. There's one possible addition we will make just in Utah, because only 2 states in the country already have a health exchange in place: Massachusetts and Utah. Massachusetts isn't going to challenge this lawsuit, but we are. And so our attitude is, look, we're already doing it. Using our state rights, where we're closer to the people, we decided to create a program that would create some health exchanges.
This is what the 9th and 10th Amendment.
Yeah, I mean, we're using our authority under the 10th Amendment. And it's in place already. It's a very streamlined, very efficient organization, run with a couple of employees. Well, now this new law, we've got federal lawmakers telling state lawmakers that you have to do more than what you've already done. That flies. That's also unconstitutional. Right. We have a separation of powers between the federal and state governments.
It's the checks and balances
absolutely.
that they put in place.
And that separation, that checks and balances, that 10th Amendment, that's just as important part of the Constitution as the Commerce Clause or any other part of the Constitution. And so that's what we're going to ask the courts to uphold, is getting the federal government back to what it was supposed to be. And you got to start somewhere. I mean, we could, there's a lot of federal programs that are unconstitutional and federal departments that aren't provided for in the Constitution.
Well, yeah, and Utah passed Senate Bill 11, the firearms one, where any firearm made and kept in Utah is exempt of federal regulation.
Right.
But what happens when the Fed comes in and tries to enforce federal regulations? Is there a penalty for the ATF agents or FBI who enforce on that?
We'll have an interesting confrontation. I've just been, in fact, just today I signed a ProHack VJ, meaning I am now authorized to enter into the lawsuit in Montana. Our SB 11 was tailored after Montana's law. Since they're already in court, we're doing an amicus brief in support of that. So I was just recognized by the court in Montana.
So we're joining Montana in their fight.
We're supporting that fight there because they're already further down the road as far as having it resolved. And just yesterday, the governor signed 2 bills that mandate the Attorney General to sue the federal government to either use eminent domain or quiet title
to reclaim
over roads, to reclaim our lands.
Wonderful.
And we're very specific. I mean, this isn't like we're right now going to say we're going to go out and take Zion's National Park and take it into state.
Right, but if you look at the map, 90% of Utah is owned by the Fed.
Big chunk of it. But what they did provide us when we became a state was they promised that there would be these institutional trust lands all throughout the state. And those lands will be forever held in trust for the school kids. And if we can develop mineral resources under those lands, that money goes direct to our schools. Well, there's many places in the state where those institutional trust lands are completely surrounded by federal land and restricted access. We can't get across it to use it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to say, well, we need access across your land. We're going to take it. We're going to go to court. We're going to either condemn that road and make it a state road, or we're going to get quiet title action and have a right-of-way across it. But that's the next thing. So there's a number of these states' rights actions that we're starting.
What would happen if we did the same thing that we did with the firearms bill, but tailored it to Obamacare? Is there a way to say that trying to enforce Obamacare in Utah is... We did that. We did?
Yeah, in fact, that's only a couple of states, Virginia, Utah, and a couple others, have done this. Our law says that no Utahn shall be forced to buy insurance.
Is this a new law or?
It was just signed into law about a week ago.
Wonderful.
So we have a federal law directly in competition with the state law, which clearly gives me standing. some people have said, well, how does the Attorney General sue in Florida, and how do you have standing? The individual person who's being required to buy insurance and doesn't want to, shouldn't he be the only person who can sue? No, we can sue because we
On behalf
of the people in the state. Because now we have, so our standing is secure in Utah. Even Florida state hasn't passed that law yet. They're working hard to pass it as we speak. They're still in their session. So every state that passes that, you're clearly going to have standing to bring this, because we've got a direct conflict between state and federal law.